over the last 9 days. Donald Trump got to spend the last 9 days saying things like I just read back to you, the prime suspect in a wide-reaching criminal investigation. Is it fair to say you guys got an advantage here based on actually nothing happening?
Well, that's not true. Something did happen. The FBI director said he was launching a new investigation or reopening the old one. I saw it termed differently in different places. So that's got nothing to do with us. Our campaign doesn't tip his hand. And we certainly didn't, criticize him and persecute him the way others did, which I think is quite remarkable, because now they're saying we knew that he wouldn't change his conclusion. But, Steve, let's be very fair and open about what all of his conclusions were that will not be changed. Those conclusions include the fact that she was reckless and careless. She lied about the server. She lied about the number of devices. She lied about having classified information. The fact that she put yours and my security at risk does not change. It didn't change on October 28th, and it doesn't change today.
Bring in now Kellyanne Conway. She's the campaign manager for Donald Trump. So, Kellyanne, look, when this story broke, the Friday, October 28th, Donald Trump reacted, said this is bigger than Watergate when it was announced that there were newly discovered emails the FBI was going to be taking a look into. Is it safe to say, from your standpoint now, that this issue is closed?
Well, some things haven't changed at all. What FBI Director Comey said on July 7th under oath to Congress is still the same, that she was reckless and careless in her handling of information, that she lied, that there was not classified information. He said, in fact, there was, that she lied, that she had only used one device. He said under oath she had used multiple devices. We know she left classified material at a hotel in China. We know just as of this morning, we come to find out she asks her housekeeper to print out classified information for her at home, where she's got the private server to begin with, I guess. And so, the reason that so many Americans have a problem with Hillary Clinton's honesty, trustworthiness, and veracity does not change. I just find it deliciously ironic that the Democrats jumped all over Jim Comey, made him, completely attacked him for what he thought was doing his job, went so far afield, calling into question his credibility. He should resign. He's interfering with an election. Do they feel like FBI Director Jim Comey's interfering with an election today, 2 days before that election? I wonder. I think they probably don't.
Let me ask you what you think of that, because I've heard mixed messages from your campaign on this. Over the summer, when he initially made the announcement that he wasn't recommending any charges, I heard from Trump supporters, I heard from Trump himself, that this was an example, in Donald Trump's own words here, of the system being rigged against him, basically saying the skids were greased to clear Hillary Clinton. Then when Comey made that announcement 9 days ago, Donald Trump said, look, I have to give him credit. I think he's doing the right thing here. How are you interpreting this intervention on Comey's part? 2 days before the election, he sends this letter to Congress. What do you think of his action?
Steve, I immediately thought he's mishandled the investigation from the beginning, and this proves it yet again. In other words, why the dribs and drabs? Why the investigation's over? No, it's not. I was just kidding. Or we're not pressing charges, but let me go to Congress 2 days later and testify under oath all the things that she did wrong that might lead a different prosecutor to pressing charges. So I think that was the frustration and indeed the consternation for many people, including Donald Trump and his campaign, in that, well, she just did all these things, and then you've got folks who have done far less. You have General Cartwright has done far less. You've got the guy Saucier in the submarine taking pictures doing far less, and yet they either have or may face jail time, significant prison sentences.
But Kellyanne, I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to stand on what's happened in the last 9 days, because this is, whatever side you're on, I think this is rather extraordinary what's played out over the last 9 days. So you had the FBI director on October 28th saying, whoa, we've got newly discovered emails, and then all of the drama that ensued from that. Do you think now that it is appropriate for him to provide this update 2 days before the election? I know politically this may not be good news for your campaign, but do you consider this appropriate at this point, given what happened 9 days ago, that he provides the update he just provided?
Well, first, I don't believe that it's politically good or bad information for our campaign. We have not made this a centerpiece of our messaging, even though we're asked about it constantly. Donald Trump's out there talking about Obamacare and talking about job creation, and he's at a rally right now doing exactly that. So this has not been front and center of our campaign.
He did call it when these emails were discovered. He called it bigger than Watergate. That suggests a central role in your message.
Well, let me ask you something. Do you think that they went through hundreds of thousands of emails in a week because that may strike a lot of Americans as unusual. I don't know if I'd have the capacity to do that. I don't know if I'd want, I don't know that I want, as a taxpayer, the FBI stopping every single thing they're doing to focus on that, and I doubt they did, because they're responsible men and women.
Well, let me be clear. In terms of the reporting here, when we say hundreds of thousands of emails, we're talking about just the total number of emails that existed on this computer, not the total number. You know, this was a personally used computer. That's not the total number, apparently, that were relevant to this case. But do you doubt that this review was thorough?
I sure hope it was thorough, because obviously this, you know what didn't change my mind today is that the investigation has been mishandled from the beginning. Why did we find out just today that the housekeeper is printing out confidential information? Why did we find out in the course of the investigations that Hillary Clinton lied about whether or not she had exchanged classified information? Jim Comey himself said she did. Why did she lie that she used one device when there were up to 13 of them? Why did she lie that she handled everything, she did everything by the book, and Colin Powell told her so? No, he didn't. You know, it's lie after lie. And the idea, Steve, that less than the 64% of Americans who already say they don't trust her, and a slightly lower number that don't like her, are going to change their mind because of this is just, it's folly. They're not, because some of the facts are still the same. She was reckless, she was careless, she was selfish. There was no reason to set up that server in the first place. By the way, there was no reason for us to have wasted all these resources of our federal government to track down her petty, peevish, selfish interest, her setting up the server, her lying about it, the Congress having to investigate it, the FBI needing to investigate it, the DOJ. People will still make up their minds about what they think Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton discussed on that tarmac for at least 39 minutes. So a lot of these facts don't change in terms of what the electorate is thinking about going into Tuesday. I don't see the change. Let's take the country in a new and different direction. Let's change the nation numbers going down. They're upwards of 70 to 75% in most polls. That's not going to change because the FBI director came back out. But I just think it is ironic that they just completely just threw an anvil on top of Jim Comey's head, the Democrats did, the minute that he did this, and then ultimately including the president saying he doesn't want him to work on innuendo or interfere in an election, and now he's a hero.
Speaking of innuendo, Donald Trump, just today in Iowa, he said in reference to this, he called Hillary Clinton the prime suspect in a far-reaching criminal investigation. So now we find out that this newly discovered trove of emails from 9 days ago, according to the FBI, the basis for what Donald Trump is talking about there, they say they've now completed their review. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed from where we were over the summer. So is it fair to say, from your campaign standpoint, millions of votes were cast over the last 9 days? Donald Trump got to spend the last 9 days saying things like I just read back to you, the prime suspect in a wide-reaching criminal investigation. Is it fair to say you guys got an advantage here based on actually nothing happening?
Well, that's not true. Something did happen. The FBI director said he was launching a new investigation or reopening the old one. I saw it termed differently in different places. So that's got nothing to do with us. Our campaign doesn't tip his hand. And we certainly didn't, you know, criticize him and persecute him the way others did, which I think is quite remarkable, because now they're saying we knew that he wouldn't change his conclusion. But, Steve, let's be very fair and open about what all of his conclusions were that will not be changed. Those conclusions include the fact that she was reckless and careless. She lied about the server. She lied about the number of devices. She lied about having classified information. The fact that she put yours and my security at risk does not change. It didn't change on October 28th, and it doesn't change today. Look, for all the advantages this woman has, the machine she's built, the fact that she starts out with 248 electoral votes in the so-called blue wall, and yet she can't get those other 22 electoral votes, and we're forcing her now to dip into the 248. They're playing follow the leader. We're forcing them all over the electoral map now. They're in Michigan today. They're in Wisconsin. They're living in Pennsylvania. Let's go back to New Hampshire. All blue states that President Obama carried twice. And it is our campaign that has them on the run in these states. So that's not going to change. I can't imagine they're going to say, you know, we don't need to go to Michigan today. We'll probably win because Director Comey, yet again, inserted himself into the electoral process somehow today. That's not going to change. The fact that people just don't trust this woman and she can't get above 50% in any of these states and stay there won't change today.
I just want to ask you about some of the reports we're getting about early voting. You mentioned where the campaign is playing out in the final days. I want to ask you specifically about the swing state. We've considered it a swing state of Nevada. This is a state President Obama carried twice, 2008, 2012. John Ralston, who is a sort of the dean of political reporters out there, is now saying that essentially the race in Nevada Nevada, in his judgment, is over, and he bases that on saying that Democrats actually, the Democratic ballot advantage in the early voting was actually bigger in the early voting period this year than it was 4 years ago. And of course, 4 years ago, the state wasn't particularly close. President Obama carried it by a comfortable margin. Do you agree with that assessment? Is Nevada now off the board?
No, Nevada's not. Well, I think if anybody learned anything over the last 2 weeks, it's calling things over makes people look a little bit over their skis too early, because for all these articles that were written that the race itself is over, the path is gone, the path is narrow, it's going to be a blowout, we're going to get Democrats in the House and Senate, we're going to turn Texas blue, all this nonsense that people just went and wrote and reported on that is not true. In Nevada, we need a very good day of performance in Nevada to carry the state, and we are gearing up for that. If you look at other early return states like Colorado, certainly Florida, Ohio, Iowa, North Carolina, where I just did a press call this morning where we reported on the latest statistics, Steve, that we like where we are at this point as compared to where the nominee was in 2012 in terms of absentee ballot requests, absentee ballot early returns, and the like. And so Nevada is a place where we are gearing up. We've actually improved this week, but we're gearing up for a really good day of performance to carry the state. I also would just tell you that we have 6 different paths now to get to 270. And so, and you see the way we've scrambled up the electoral map. And if the Democrats, if Hillary Clinton weren't worried about it, she wouldn't have President Obama, President Bill Clinton, and Hillary Clinton visiting the state of Michigan, for example, closing out in Pennsylvania. Tomorrow night she is, and so we've got them on the run. They have decided to go back into blue states with paid advertisements and certainly deploying her super surrogates, all more popular than she is, and her herself going there as well because they're worried about these blue states.
Okay, Kellyanne Conway, Donald Trump's campaign manager. Thanks for taking a few minutes.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, meanwhile, Donald Trump speaking right now in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He has not yet in this speech addressed the breaking news. Again, the FBI Director James Comey getting back in touch with Congress 9 days after he said there were newly discovered emails. He now says the investigation into those emails is complete, and his conclusion from July stands. There's no basis, he says, for any sort of case to be brought against Hillary Clinton in this email case.